Welcome to another episode of the Global Game Pod, where we focus on one thing and one thing only, and that's football.
What a goal from Ronaldo! It is absolutely magnificent. It is David Beckham.
With Coach Rudy and friends, this is Global Game Pod.
Yo, what's happening, people? Welcome to another episode of the Global Game Pod, brought to you by CKB Interiors. If you want a kitchen or a bedroom, you guys know what to do. All right, on to my guest for today's episode, Mr. Ryan Eldred, who I will call him the Global Football Coach. So it's special for me to have the Global Football Coach on the Global Game Pod. So, I've always wanted to speak to people who go abroad, and Ryan is definitely one of those guys, coaching in many countries, also in the UK, and today's about him. So welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thanks. Afternoon. How we doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. Ticking away. Strange times. How about yourself? How you getting on in these times?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I moved back from China end of January to kind of escape the virus, but now doing lockdown again in the UK, and just a bit done with it now. I want to get back to things.
Were you while you were in China? Were you in lockdown then as well?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, it started out there, and it wasn't too bad across the rest of the world. And a lot of my local friends and stuff in China, they was like, "You need to get out of this. It's a bit crazy at the moment." So I thought, honestly, the safest thing to do would be go back to the UK, kind of wait till things settle down before heading back. But obviously, it's worse back in the UK now. So
you've kind of been hit twice.
That's it, double lockdown.
Hey, good is it? That's not good. You must be doing your absolute nutting right now.
That's it, man. Crazy. I just can't wait to get back on the field and start coaching again, wherever that may be. It's obviously not been ideal coming back and sort of searching for a new job during these times, because everybody's in the same situation, and we don't know when things are really going to improve. So we've just got to sort of hold tight and see what happens.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think everyone involved in football is just itching to get back now in some way, shape or form. Yeah. I'm personally thinking about starting some social distance sessions myself, because I just want to be back out on the ground now.
Well, it's a good idea. I've seen a lot of people, especially online, are offering a lot of good content, and they're slowly getting back to their coaching, and obviously, like say, offering sessions where players are a bit more spread out, and you can be a bit limited what you can do, but at least they're still playing football.
Yeah, I think you just have to literally strip it down to ball mastery and go back to really, really basic stuff again. But at least you're out on the ground, isn't it?
It's the main thing, getting back out there, doing what we all love to do.
Yeah, exactly. So I always do this, like with all the guests that come on, I always like to go right back to the start of the journey. And I mean, as young as you can remember. So when does football actually start for you? At a young age, always playing. So when does football really start for you?
Yeah, obviously, very young age. A lot of my family are big football fans, and I grew up on the Isle of Wight. Obviously, there's kind of a lack of opportunity here, which kind of drove me to move away in the future and find something that was a bit more suited for me. Obviously, started playing football from sort of 6-7 years old, really, really young, just locally. Unfortunately, when I got into my teenage years, I received a pretty bad injury, which stopped me playing football for a couple of years. And that kind of was a bit of a blessing in disguise, because it led me down the coaching route
So when does this coaching journey actually start?
I'd say I was around 17, 18 when I first started getting interested into it. I started coaching a few local teams back on the Isle of Wight. My dad had a local youth team, and my brother-in-law was involved with one as well. So kind of would just go down and help out and support, and then ended up getting a bit of a bug for it, to be honest. And about a year or so after that, I wasn't too sure what to do. I was at a bit of a crossroads. I wasn't really playing football too much, and I didn't know what to do work-wise. My exams in that school were not too good, so I kind of went back to school, got my grades pushed up a little bit, and then ended up going to university to try and make the most of the coaching opportunities available there.
So you studied coaching in uni as well, yeah?
Yeah, I went to Chichester University and done a community sports coaching degree there, 2011 to graduated in 2014, so quite a while ago now. But yeah, I loved it there, great experience. And that kind of set me up to carry on in the career of coaching, to be honest.
See, that's this thing, like when with myself, my coaching route was a little bit different. So it was like a case of, I kind of felt like I love playing with the game. Didn't really enjoy it anymore. But I always loved the art of it. I always loved the tactics and just seeing. I saw it like a chess game.
Sure.
And when I got involved in youth football. But for me, it was different because I had nobody like I was looking up to in a sense in a coaching role. So I didn't actually know what was required to be a coach. If you kind of get what I mean, I was just a coach.
I kind of see where you're coming from, like, especially when you've been playing youth football. Even though all my coaches I had when I was playing youth football were fantastic, I look back at it now, and now I think if we kind of had a coach that would look a bit more into the tactics and the technical side of the game, we might have done a bit better or improved individually and as a collective group, to be honest. And that kind of pushed me into wanting to be a coach a bit more, because I think, especially where there's such a lack of opportunities on the Isle of Wight and obviously in many areas as well, if we give those kids the most of the opportunities we can by better coaching and better sessions that we can put on, then they're going to have a better chance at the end of the day. So that was kind of another drive that pushed me towards going down the coaching route.
Yeah, 100%. And do you think like that experience in university kind of gave you a pathway and a guide onto how to go on and, progress your career in a sense?
Definitely, but I still feel like you got to be really interested and want to do it, because I'd say 60-70% of the people that was maybe on my course have gone on to other careers that haven't been anything to do with coaching. They might have gone into recruitment or other little avenues that have nothing to do with what they study at university, which is fair enough. And if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But I definitely think it does give you a bit of a platform to set yourself. And you obviously, some courses will allow you to go and do placements with different companies and get a little bit of experience under your belt whilst you're studying, which is a good thing.
Yeah, see, I think that's like, I wouldn't call it a regret, but in a sense, it's one of my regrets that I didn't actually take a pathway like that, like from a university, and get a degree in what I love doing. I ended up coaching was like a part-time thing, like it's a hobby. I just did it in my spare time. And then, like I said, there wasn't really any coaches that I was looking up to, so I didn't really understand the pathway. And then I didn't end up getting any badges for a while. I mean, I was coaching for like 7 years before I actually completed my first badge. So it was a bit mental in that sense. But in your sense, like, did the university offer you badges, or were you already qualified before you got into uni?
No, not at all. Like I said, my exams were terrible at school. I wasn't the brightest spark, but then that kind of led me to go and really give it a proper go. When I got to university, I was nowhere near one of the best coaches on my course, and that gave me even more of a push to go out and get a bit more experience, because felt like not like I was getting left behind, but I wanted to be one of the better coaches on the course, and I wanted to show what I could do. So whilst I was at uni, I actually found a volunteering gig with a local youth team, and they actually helped me put me through my badges in return for coaching and taking the team to games on the weekends, which was good. And I volunteered with them for about 2 years whilst I was at uni. And then even when I left uni, I stayed with them for another year, because they just helped me out so much. They were so supportive. They put me through, like, say, my level 1, my level 2, and just gave me opportunity to coach regular training twice a week and matches on the weekend. Obviously, not all people want to be doing that whilst they're at uni, because they have social lives. They want to go out on the weekend. But for me, I thought that was a bit more important. You can still lead a good social life and you can still have friends or whatever, but I think getting that experience whilst you're studying helps you even further. You're making the connections and just make the most of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's important that we touch on that, because sometimes I think young people don't actually appreciate coaches for what they bring to the table. And sometimes I feel like coaches don't even appreciate what a coach does. Because, I know we are player-centered. Coaches are naturally player-centered, especially in the modern day. It's all about the development of the youngster and the development of the player. And that's what's highlighted. But as a coach, talking to another coach, I think you might agree with me, you may disagree, I'm not sure, but we coaches need to be highlighted as well in that sense, and we need to, that journey needs to be shared, because like you said, and like we say as coaches, in a group of 100 players that we might coach, you'll be lucky if one of them goes on to the pro game. You'll be very lucky if one of them goes on to it. So the next best thing for a lot of these kids may actually be coaching.
Definitely. Like I say, it's a great opportunity, especially if you love football. And like you say, that it's going to be a very small percentage that actually go on and do really well out of football playing. So coaching is definitely a great route to go down. It's not as accessible in the UK as I've found out, and not that easy to get that role that you always want. That's obviously what led me to look abroad and look at other opportunities available. But there's definitely opportunities out there, and to make a career out of coaching is great, I think, especially for young coaches who are not quite sure. And even if they do want to carry on playing, I'd never say stop playing. You can obviously do your coaching on the side, which is, I feel like it's important that you still play. So you're still understanding the game and picking up little things, and you're always learning. But for me, coaching's definitely a great avenue for them to pursue.
Yeah, and so just touching on what you just said there in terms of the lack of opportunity in the country, and I guess that is what, like you said, that's what's inspired you to go abroad. I mean, how many positions in the country did you actually apply for before you thought, you know what, this ain't happening?
Honestly, like I finished university and I thought I was going to walk into a job. I was like, yeah, I've got a degree now. I've done a couple of coaching badges. I've got a little bit of experience. I'm going to walk into a job. It's going to be easy. And it's really not like that, because there's so many other people doing it. It's such a competitive market, and it's really, really difficult to get yourself going, especially with a decent inside a decent company with something. Obviously, everyone wants to be well paid as well, which doesn't always come with the coaching. But yeah, it's a difficult one, and I applied for quite a few jobs. Like I say, I got a job with the Chelsea Foundation, which at the time I thought was going to be the best thing ever. I went up to the Cobham training ground, and you see everything, and you take it all in. You think, oh, this is going to be spot on. You get the tracksuit on, and you think, yeah, this is going to be decent. But like I say, I was on a casual contract, and hours were not great, and you get promised some things, and you get told some things, and it doesn't quite happen sometimes. And like I said, no grudges held against anyone there. It's just the way it goes, and I'm sure there'll be many other people that have had similar experiences. And then, but in a way, I'm kind of glad that happened, because then that made me open my eyes a bit more and think, what else is out there?
Yeah. And so, what was your first actual job? In which country did you first actually go on and then build this brand of the global?
First time I went away was just the United States with UK International Soccer. I've actually got an article coming out about that tomorrow, about for new young coaches who are looking to go abroad and work in the USA, and it talks about a few of the things that I've experienced, and I've also interviewed a few other coaches as well that have kind of got involved and shared their experiences too. But for me, the USA to start with is a fantastic place for young coaches to get started. It gives you great opportunity. There's various different sessions you'll be involved in. There's lots to offer there, and I really, really enjoyed my time there.
So obviously you say you got an article coming out, so I'm assuming that you write stuff for young coaches and for coaches in general. Is that like on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis? How do people get involved in that?
I've only recently just started doing this. Obviously, like a lot of other people, I've got a lot more time on my hands during this lockdown period, and I thought, what might I have been able to use when I was a bit younger, and maybe use it as a point of reference to help other coaches that might follow a similar pathway to myself. And I thought if I maybe would have had a bit more information about places where I've been, or where to go, or even what it's like in the UK, it might really help me. And even if that just goes to help one person, then for me that's job done, because you're helping out people who are in a similar situation to what you once were. But I really got into it because I spoke with Matt Ward, who runs the British Football Coaches Network, and I asked him if I could write an article about my time in China, and he said, yeah, go ahead. And I actually really enjoyed writing it. I probably could have written 3 or 4, because there's so much to write about. But after that, I thought I'd try and go out on my own with it a little bit, and I released one shortly after, again about China, and then this week's one is more focused around the USA. But I thought I'd come up with maybe 6 different topics that could help or benefit sort of young or new coaches coming into the early stages of their career, and hopefully help them out as best you can with experiences that I've had, like I said, that other coaches have had. I try and make it as relatable as possible, and give as much information and knowledge that could support them to stop making some of the mistakes and things that I made as well. So yeah.
No, that's really good. I mean, I'll definitely have a read up on that as well. I mean, I know you said it's for young coaches and stuff, but can also be used for coaches who may want to like divert their attention in another country and try something different, you know, even if they've been coaching for 10, 11, 12 years. Well, it doesn't really, I mean, I'm sure it can help them out as well.
Definitely, like I say, it's more aimed towards young coaches, but there will be older coaches that have had those experiences as well, and might be able to relate back to think, oh yeah, I've done that as well, which hopefully then it appeals to a bigger audience and can receive a bit of attention and have the purpose of helping people at the end of the day. That's what I'm looking to really do.
Yeah, I mean that's what coaches do, and I mean I think it's written somewhere in an unwritten law that that's what we are. You know, we're helpers. That's it.
Help each other at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was like the conversation we had is that not only are we the helpers, but we're also the biggest thieves in the world as well.
Definitely, totally agree with that one.
We love watching sessions and just taking ideas. And
I'll take that bit. I'll put it in my session, change it up a little bit.
100%. We've all done it, and there's, to be fair, there's nothing really wrong with it, because as long as you make it centered around your players and their skill set, I don't think there's anything wrong with that personally.
That's it. You see it from grassroots all the way up to the top level. People take things off you, and you take things off them. As long as you change it and adapt it and make it suit the players or the session that you're trying to work it with, then there's no problem with that, I don't see.
So what is your coaching ethos? If I can ask it that way, what's your coaching principles? What are you trying to bring to the players?
Obviously, a lot of my experience and stuff has been with youth football and teams. So for me, it's got to be focused around youth development, and especially when we start with the younger ages, it's all about having fun and trying to get them to enjoy the game as best they can, because if that doesn't happen, then they're not going to carry on playing. Got to keep the players best involved in the game as we can. From a coaching point of view, I see so many examples of coaches that are coaching younger groups and they're filling it with information and structure, and then you can just see, like watching it from the outside in, that the kids are bored and they're not coming back the next week. So for me, ultimately, it's got to be fun. It's got to be challenging as well, because we work with kids from all different ages. So we've got to find a way of challenging every single kid the best they can, because without challenging them, they're not going to develop at the end of the day. But like I say, a lot of my experience has been with the youth football. I would like to hopefully move into senior football one day. But I still don't think I'm going to do that just yet. I want to get stronger at what I'm good at, and then hopefully in the future kind of try and transfer them skills into the senior game.
100%. I was like that. I took a senior job on at 25, and the reality was I was not ready for it. Having spent so many years in the youth game, it's completely. I genuinely, hand on heart, thought, what's going to be so hard about this? You know, I'm coaching kids who don't know really much about football and getting them to a good playing standard. I'm going into a team with 26, 27, 28-year-old boys at non-league level. It's going to be easy, plain sailing. It was the hardest thing I ever done.
I think the thing of it as well is the age. If you put yourself in their shoes, like I'm obviously 28, nearly 29 now, and if I had a 25-year-old come to take my session, straight away you think, yeah, is this guy got it? Do you know what I mean? Which is very judgy, I know, but that's the automatic thought that comes into the head, especially with coaching senior football. So I think you've got to earn that respect of the players before you can even think about going into it.
100%. I think it was a lesson for me on what not to do in the future. And even though like I'm 31 now, so it's been 6 years since that initial role, and then I got the job at Billericay as the first team coach there. And when I walked in there, it was like, right, I need to remember everything that I shouldn't do that I did at 25. Because even though I'm 6 years older and I've got 6 years worth of more coaching, again, it's in the youth section. So it's like, now the challenge is even bigger. But I think where you're working with it comes down to levels at the end of the day. So where you're working with a lot of ex-pros and guys who have been in and around training ground full-time basis and stuff like that, it does make it a little bit easier in terms of you can gain your respect quicker as long as you show your knowledge.
Sure.
And they'll respect that. Whereas at non-league, where they haven't played the pro game, non-league players seem to think they know it all. And like you said, you know, that judgy character tends to come out, like, who the hell are you and what the hell are you going to bring to the table, kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. Another way you have to look at it as well, though, you're never going to get that experience if you don't give it a go at some point. So it's kind of getting that right balance of when to give it a go. Should I try and do this now? If it doesn't quite work, when should I try and do it next time? But it's a difficult one for sure. Like, it's something I've definitely been thinking about. I've been speaking to a couple of people at home that have offered me like roles as like reserve team manager with like a senior side and a coaching job with a senior side, but I've kind of just said I'm not too sure. I'll let you know, and kind of just holding off a little bit, So I have to wait and see till the time is right, which I don't think is just yet.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, everyone feels at this at their time that you just know. I mean, with me, it was more a case of who the management team was at Billericay at the time. Obviously, Jamie O'Hara, Gift, and Noel Williams. And I'm looking at the changing room, and I'm looking at the players around. I'm like, I cannot turn this opportunity down. I may blow at it, like I may be terrible at it, but I can't turn it down just for the sheer experience of it. And
how did you feel though? Did you feel a bit out of your depth, or did you feel like, what was the first sort of feeling?
Yeah, I went in there nervous. I felt like I forgot what coaching was. That's the truth. I was terrible at the beginning. I was just a bag of nerves because I'm looking at it like all these guys have got a story. All these guys have got pro experience, and I haven't. That's the fact. I can't change that. I have to somehow show these guys that I belong in their world. And for me, that was one of the most difficult things. But once I started taking some initiative and thinking a little bit, the coach in me came out, where you start thinking outside the box. When you're in a session and you might have planned for 12 and 16 show up, and you got to start thinking outside the box a little bit.
Quickly, you're changing it all in your head.
Yeah, and I just became a coach again and started thinking like a coach and behaving like a coach again. And all of a sudden, the respect element came into it straight away, because it was like, okay, he does know what he's talking about. And yes, he's not had the experience of playing the game, but he brings something to the table. And I saw it like that. How they saw it, I don't know. You'd have to ask them. But I saw it as the respect. The tide changed a little bit. But
that's it. Once you've done that once, you get that confidence, and next time you go back in there to do it, you're flying, and it seems like nothing's changed. And it almost feels like you're coaching those youth players again.
Exactly, that's exactly what it is. And I think it's just that early transition is the hardest thing. And I'm sure when you make that jump, it'll be the same, because you're so used to, like, kids are so much energy and so much fun, and you've probably seen it in so many different countries as well. Whereas seniors are like, right, get to the point. What are we doing? Let's get on with it.
Yeah. Don't have any of that stuff.
Do you understand? So I think it's that transition, but I think there is element of youth coaching that you can definitely bring into the senior game, 110%.
Definitely, there's things that transfer over all day long, but it's just finding that right balance of getting it right for the group that you're with.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously you've experienced coaching in this country. I want to touch on that a little bit, because you did come back and you did coach at Portsmouth as well. And you were telling me before we started recording that was one of the best experiences you've had. So if we could touch up on that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I moved back from Seattle. My visa expired, come back to the UK for a little bit, and thought I'd try and find a role in the UK. Luckily, they were hiring at Portsmouth, which is local to me as well. Went for the interview and started with them pretty much straight away. And I was obviously with Portsmouth in the community, and a lot of it was out in the community around schools and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed the whole experience. The team they had there at the time was fantastic. You're very, very close to the club setup. Obviously, our office is right next to Fratton Park, and it was fantastic. And for me, the most rewarding part was working with the development kids, the kids that are really trying to push to get into the academy. They'd play every Saturday in the JPL. And we'd sort of train every Monday night. The good thing about that is, for me, like, even though your team might be the U11s, you'd still get a chance of coaching the U16s, because all the coaches would show up to this one session. So we'd almost chop and change who we coach each week, which I think is good for the kids as well, because they hear a different voice, they see a different face. Yes, it was a real good experience, and I'd happily go back there now if given the opportunity, because they helped me so much in regard to coaching. A couple of guys that were above me were fantastic coaches, really supportive. Gave us the opportunity to take teams out to Holland and compete in tournaments out there, play friendlies against professional clubs. Like, I think we played against Napoli and FC Twente and teams like that. So really, really great time, and couldn't knock it at all.
So in terms of that development center, that development team that you're talking about, Portsmouth, that was playing in the JPL, they were like really close to being academy players. Then obviously, if they're going out on tour and stuff like that and going out to play in these countries,
it's almost like the shadow squad, I guess. Like,
yeah. So I mean, so for you, did you ever have a player in that squad that then did make the transition to the academy?
Yeah. One actually got signed. One got signed, and I think after a year after I left, I think another one might have got signed as well. So the process was working. They was filtering through. Not sure how much credit you always get for it, but it's
No,
what it is, I guess.
I mean that
Let them
literally
go.
is it.
That's the process. If the player's good enough, let them move on to the next level. That's where they should be at for sure. Always
But
advocate.
what about in
Definitely
terms for yourself? Is that like a sense of, do you get a sense of pride in that? Because I definitely do. I can't deny that whatsoever. You know.
massively. Even if you've helped them a tiny bit on their next step, and I'm sure they appreciate it as well. Obviously, it's not really about the coach too much. It's about the player. They're the ones putting the effort in, and they deserve the rewards at the end of the day if they're getting spotted and if they're getting pushed up to the next level. But for sure, you take a little bit of pride out of that because you've been coaching them regular each week. You've been taking them to the games. You've been a small part of it. But like I said, at the end of the day, you've got to say well done to the player.
Yeah, 100%. But what about the other way though? So everyone always talks about the positives in coaches, like coaches develop players and the players go on to move on to the academies. But what about those players who we feel as coaches? I say we because we're both talking here. But you know those players that we feel may be ready. They then go into the setup. We've given them a whole heap of confidence to say, you know what, you've got this. Go flourish, spread your wings, and let's go. It's going to happen for you. But they get rejected, and then they got to come back. What are those players? That feeling, you know, because I know I have that feeling.
Really, really difficult one. I think timing plays a huge part in it all. Obviously, each player develops at a different age. They grow, they mature at different ages. So one player who might be ready to go and move up to the next step at 13 might get the same teammate that's ready 2 years before or 2 years after. Timing is a huge thing, and like I say, those players that come down and come back out of the system, obviously they're naturally going to be disappointed. But as coaches, I feel we've got to just keep encouraging them, keep them in the game, because some will be so gutted they'll probably just drop out altogether. So we've got a lot of roles to play in order to try and keep them interested and keep them pushing, because at the end of the day, I think if they've been looked at, and they must have something already, even if they haven't quite made it, there's still an opportunity in the future for them to go and do the business still.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that one of the reasons I was highlighting is that it's just to show the listeners and people who may not be coaches that there's so many sides of the coin when it comes to a coach. It's not as black and white as people see it.
Definitely.
You know, and that's the whole point of this. Is I'm just trying to like highlight. I'm highlighting players all day, every day, in a sense. I mean, it's really easy to talk to players, but I'm trying to highlight coaches who are doing great things as well. And like I said, the different side of the coins that we face every single day, because these are daily challenges. You know, you could be on a high, literally the next minute you'll have a player who's completely low, and you've got to try and bring him to a high, or you've got to get down to his level. So there's so many different roles that we play. We're not just, I always say, we're not just football coaches.
No, definitely not. Like I say, we've got a lot to offer, and hopefully we can give them as much as we can. But no matter what pathway you take as a coach, I believe we all face those same problems. Yeah. Even if you're a grassroots coach, even if you've just started coaching, even if you're in the top tier of football, everyone's going to face them same issues. But it's about kind of adapting and seeing how the best way we can sort things out, especially for the player. Like you touched on earlier, everything nowadays is player centered. We have to do everything for the player, and it's a lot goes into it. But at the end of the day, when you get the rewards out of it, there's no better feeling than that. Especially just seeing a kid happy playing football, doing what he loves to do, and he's seeing the rewards from that. I don't think you can beat that on a personal scale.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you on that one. But touching a little bit on the technical side of the game. Obviously, in England, we use the 4-corner model. What differences have you found abroad? Obviously, first name the countries that you've actually worked in. I know you worked in the USA, you worked in China. Is there any other countries that you worked in?
And obviously, I went out to Holland when I was with Portsmouth.
Okay.
I'm currently looking at roles abroad at the moment as well. There's been a little bit of talk about South Korea, which I'd be kind of interested in, but it's still the early stages. But for me, like, China was a big eye opener when you talk about technical. They're I wouldn't say so far behind, but there's something about the culture and the way they grow up, and they don't have the same sort of technical skills as kids I've noticed, especially at home. They're very individual. If you look at their national sports, they're amazing at individual sports, table tennis, badminton, these sorts of things. And I feel like now they've tried to make football one of their big sports, and they're pumping all this money into it and trying to develop it with foreign coaches coming over. I feel like a lot of the times I see these kids, they can't play as a team. They struggle to play as a team. It's all about them. They want it to just be about them. You know what I mean? So from a technical point of view, that needs to improve massively. But it's a cultural problem, not a problem.
Yeah.
Not a football problem. As soon as they can start to change the culture and understand that things work better together as a team, I feel like they'll start to develop a little bit better. In the USA, I felt like it wasn't as bad, more similar to the UK, and it was when I first went to the USA as well. It was sort of a sport that was developing, and then people were getting excited about. And I moved to China, and it was kind of a similar experience, but definitely from a technical point of view, the Chinese, they were not difficult to coach, but it was difficult to coach it out of them. To not be so individual.
Is that mainly the older ages, or is it goes straight all the way down to the younger ages as well?
Honestly, from the bottom all the way through, and that's where it needs to change. I feel their decision making is, I'd say, is a key part of that as well. They can't kind of think for themselves. If you was to look at standard Chinese PE lesson, you could see they're all very regimented in their lines. They have to do things in a certain way, and then you get them into your football session maybe in the afternoon at the school, and they expect to be coached exactly the same, and it just doesn't really work sometimes. So you have to adapt the way you coach the players, and it can be difficult, especially when you're first starting out there. You think, oh man, like, what am I doing? Like, this is really, really hard. But you kind of find a way, and you change your style of coaching. You change a lot, I think. And but at the end of the day, that only benefits you as a coach.
Yeah.
You become more of a rounded coach, because you can coach different groups, and you understand how to deal with different ages, abilities, genders, everything, you know. So it's a great thing to do, I think.
Yeah, 100%. But what about, like, in terms of Holland though? You go out there, it must be way different, because
massively. Like we played against a lot of local Dutch teams, and technically very, very good. You know, they're great on the ball. Everyone knows the famous Dutch way of playing. I used to speak about this with my bosses in China. We're actually Dutch, so they have a certain way of playing, a nice methodology, philosophy. All the Dutch way, they play nice football. I think they call it like the Cruyff total football. We played against some good teams out there. We done really well in the end. We ended up actually winning the tournament we was entered into. But the thing was difficult was you was kind of against the team you was playing, but you was against the Dutch ref as well, who kind of didn't want some UK team turning them over. So
you got to fight both sides. Don't worry about referees. Me and referees don't get along at all. We just don't like each other. But no, that sounds like a good, great journey, and it's an unfinished journey. There's definitely so much more to come. How does a tag global football coach come? Is that just something you thought, well, I'm traveling, so I'll just attach it to myself?
Honestly, like, yeah, I obviously love football coaching. It's my job, my career, and I love traveling. So whilst I'm coaching in these countries, I try and visit as many other countries as I can nearby. That's a great thing about living in Asia and in China especially. If I was to have a week off or a few days off, you can just hop on a flight. You've got Thailand, which is a few hours away, and I kind of went to Bali and places like that, and the flight time isn't so long. You can get back the next week for work, and it's amazing. You get to experience a lot of other things, a lot of different things that really open your eyes. They broaden your horizons, you know. So even if you're not coaching in these companies, just go in these countries. Go and visit them and just enjoy traveling around the world. That's what I love to do. And if you can mix football alongside that, it's no better thing, in my opinion.
Nah, that sounds. I'm sure it sounds appealing to me. I'm thinking about just like packing all in and start traveling. But I'm sure the younger coaches will be, or younger players.
There's no flights.
I know. Not anytime soon anyway. I think we're all stuck here for a little while now, aren't we?
Unfortunately.
But that's all right, because you can bring that. See, if you were to get a job here, I guess in a way it will be a little bit easier for you because of the versatility. Like if you were to come, for example, to a London, where it's just diverse and multicultural, and you've got so many different cultures coming into one place. And I think the challenge for us guys here is we're trying to mix all of that, try and make it one. Like you say, in China, it was like, this is a certain way, and I've got to build myself up to change that. Whereas here, it's like you've got all these cultures coming, and you've got to try and adapt to all of them, and then find one to. But for you, that might be a little bit easier because you've experienced this. You're a much more versatile coach in that sense.
Definitely, I think those skills I've learned from being in different cultures, you can transfer them over and use them in groups over here for sure. I was kind of looking forward to coming back to the UK and having a bit more normality. But like you said, the especially places like London is so diverse. The sessions might even be kind of similar because you've got to reach out to different groups, different learning styles, different countries, and it's definitely something that you can use, which I've now got in my toolkit, which I can transfer over to my coaching here, hopefully.
And the next 5 years, I say, what's your ambitions for those next 5 years? Like, where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? Not in terms of traveling, I mean, might be, but you as your own personal journey.
Well, from a professional point of view, I'd like to obviously do some more coaching badges, improve myself personally. Since being at university, I've never ever done anything more than a degree. So I'd ideally like to look into a master's at some point, something that I always want to keep learning. I feel like that's a really important thing as a coach at the moment. Everybody's doing really great stuff and improving themselves all the time. It's even like at the moment in lockdown, I'm seeing people doing so much stuff and always looking to improve and develop themselves personally. So I think that's a big one for me over the next 5 years. Get as much experience and CPD and things like that under my belt, because it's only going to help yourself. I think if you invest in yourself, there's no better thing going forward than if you're going for a job or looking at future employers, and that they see that straight away and they think, look, this guy's really wants this. He's taken every opportunity to try and improve himself, and it just makes you more attractive for future roles and future employers, in my opinion. I wouldn't really want to say where I'm going to be or what I'm going to be doing, because I don't really want to put a limit onto that. Obviously, like I've touched on already, I love traveling around. I'm open to opportunities abroad and overseas. I really love doing that, and it's something I know that I'll definitely do in the future because I've had such great experiences with it and met some great people, worked with some amazing people. You also work with some people that are not quite so good, but that's part of the experience as well, you know.
Is it 100%?
But it's definitely something I'd carry on to looking into. At the moment, I'm kind of quite set on staying in the UK for a little bit, just because I haven't been back for such a long time. It's kind of like nice to have a bit of normality, you know what I mean? Normal things, for even if it was just for a year or so, and then during that year try and get on as many courses and things as I can to hopefully boost my CV up even more for the next move.
Will you qualify UA for B at the moment?
No, I was looking at doing my B license before I moved to China. I actually got accepted onto a course, but then I got a job offer like the same week.
Wow.
So I kind of had to make a decision between the two. And at the time, I was so pumped on moving to Asia. I was like, you know what, the B license will be here when I get back. It's not going to really be going anywhere. Take the opportunity now and just go.
Don't say that. This B license ain't coming for me anytime soon, man.
I know. I feel you, man. I feel you. I actually moved back in January to try and get this done as soon as I can, because in Asia, it's you cannot do it at all. There's no ways around it. There's a few companies that kind of will come out and teach you the theory side, but I think you have to go back to Europe to do the practical, but it costs an absolute bomb. So I thought I'm probably better off coming back to the UK for a little bit, try and get it done here, and then make the next move wherever that may be, which for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's going to be quite an exciting journey, and I'm glad I've got to know you now, because as coaches, we love to meet like-minded people, bounce ideas off one another, and just stay in touch, really. And now that you're back in the UK, hopefully we can meet up and, you know, discuss football, because everyone, I know you know this, but everyone in football knows this. If you meet somebody you can talk to football about, you'll be there for hours.
Talk all day.
You'll be there for hours. That's really it. But who knows, we may have crossed paths one day, because when you decide to come into the senior game, my aim is to try and stay in the senior game as long as possible. As long as people want me, I'm going to be there. But our paths may cross 100%.
Maybe. Funny. It's a small world.
Yeah, trust me, it is. When some of the conversations I've had on here, I've never actually spoken to the guys before, never met them, and then they'll be talking about an incident. I'll be like, I was there.
Oh, crazy! Honestly, like even in China, I've bumped into people maybe just on a night out or something, and then they were from where I was from at home, and I was like, no way! Like it blows your mind sometimes, but it's Crazy.
Nah, that's quality, man. But it's been a pleasure listening to your story. I mean, what I want to do is I want to bring you on another time to probably like talk about a certain subject rather
Sure.
than just your journey, like, you know, because there's so many things we could talk about in terms of the football spectrum that I think we would need like an hour just to talk about the subject itself. So, I mean, if you're interested in that, we can make this a regular thing, and we can talk
Definitely.
football
Cool. Like
basically.
I said, just drop me a message, and we'll try and sort out another one. I'd be keen to doing it. Like I said to you before we start recording, this is the first real time I've done something like this, and I usually find myself better expressing myself by writing things down and typing things out, like for example with the articles I've been doing. So this is a new thing for me as well, but I've enjoyed it, and yeah, hopefully we can.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you'll have a lot of younger coaches looking at your story now, and even people around you probably don't know your story properly, you know, because we're so busy in what we do, we don't actually have time to come out of the bubble and be like, oh, I did this or I did that and I've done this and I've done that. It's sometimes like times like this when you can actually reflect a little bit. And I saw one of your quotes as well, in terms of reflection, which kind of hit home to me, because it is really important to go back and reflect, and that's the best way you are going to learn. But in such a busy life that we have as coaches, when do we really get that time to actually sit and reflect?
That's why at the moment I feel like this is such a good time to be able to do things like that and catch up with people and speak to people. I've been just calling people who I've worked with previously and just seeing how they're getting on. Not even necessarily always about football, just catch up with people, you know, and seeing how they're doing. People who you might not have connected back with for a little while. So, like I said, I think it's important. Obviously, we don't want to be in the situation we're in right now. We want to be back at it, coaching football and playing football. But whilst we're stuck here, we may as well make the most of it and take all the opportunities that we can just to reach out, connect with people like yourself, and yeah, it's no better time to do that than right now.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's part of this that we're gonna take forward as well, though. Like in terms of like stuff like reflection and just being more in the know, because I feel like I'm more in the know while I'm in this lockdown period. I know what's going on more. I'm more interested. Whereas before it's a bit like selfish, like it's just me. I need to get this done. I need to get this done. I need to do this, and I don't really have time for anything else. And if I can take that little bit away from this lockdown, I think I'll come out as a better person and individually as a better coach as well, potentially.
Well, I'm sure many people will feel exactly the same. Everyone's in the same boat, and if you're doing these kind of things all the time and you don't normally get the opportunity to, you got to appreciate it and like I said, just make the most out of the time that we have to improve ourselves personally and professionally.
And just as a parting message to younger coaches who might be watching this, to coaches who might want to experience, I know you've got an article coming out, and we'll promote the article, and I'll promote your stuff on the description of this video anyway. But a message to, in a sentence or two, to younger coaches or even parents of younger players, what message would you give to them?
From a coaching point of view, I'd just say don't give up on it, because honestly, there was a few times where I just thought, oh, this ain't for me. Like, I'm not sure I can do this anymore. But then the next day I think, oh, what am I thinking? Like, you can definitely do it. Just don't give up on it. Take all the opportunities that are offered to you. Definitely don't turn down anything, because one opportunity, even though it might not seem like what you want, it might lead to something else. So take all your opportunities and just enjoy it. At the end of the day, that's a big one for me. I see so many people, my friends and people that I know, go into jobs that they can't stand, and I just think so lucky just to be able to go out, have my time on the field, coach football, enjoy it. A lot of the time, it doesn't feel like you're working. Do you know what I mean? If you're having fun at work, then I can't see a better job, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you. Now, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on here. Thank you for sharing your journey with us.
Not a problem. Hope there's a few things people can take away. Like I said, if I can even help one person, then that's job done for me. And
definitely. I mean, I've taken something from it anyway. So there's your one person. But if others do follow that, you know, like I said, I'll promote these things, and this is the whole point of this platform. It's to promote stories that should be heard but are not necessarily heard.
Correct.
So, yeah, I mean, guys, I'm going to leave your socials down there so people can follow. I mean, Global Football Coach, not hard to remember, but I'll leave it down there anyway, just in case. Our socials will be there as usual. Guys, like, share, subscribe. You guys know what to do. Thanks again, Ryan, for coming on.
No problem.
Till the next episode, guys. Peace.